pulls away, heads into the pits, and the cars are packed up pretty tight, 2 by 2, as we head for the starter stand. Approach the starter stand, the green flag drops on the gas. Good passing opportunity here as you're coming to a very, very slow, tight turn. 3 abreast going through this turn most of the time. Back on the gas, heading for turn 2. As they approach turn 3, cars start to string out a little bit, and this fast left-hander, a little bit of a downhill here. Back on the gas, heading for turn 4. A very fast left-hander, maybe ease off the gas, maybe tap the brake just a little bit to get the nose down. Now we're a little bit uphill climb here to turn 5. Just a little bit of braking required here as you head towards turn 6. This turn is a little tricky as it's 2 turns, big sweeping turn, a good passing opportunity if you have enough guts to stay on the inside track. Now you're heading up to turn 7, the kink as we call it. Cars are stringing out pretty far now as we get some good speed on and the pack starts to separate a little bit. Hard braking into turn 8. Get another good passing opportunity here as you head for what we call patience. This is probably the hardest turn on the course to master. You got to go pretty deep, you got to brake pretty hard, and you got to turn pretty tight. Okay, so now we're at turn 10. Longest straightaway on the course, 1,850 feet. Back on the throttle hard. Time to relax a little bit, loosen up your grip, take a couple of deep breaths, get ready for this hard braking. Again, another good passing opportunity coming up to turn 11, which is a 90-degree right-hand turn. Barely having time to straighten out the wheel before it's time to make this immediate left-hander. Now you're heading for the last 2 turns on the course, turns 13 and 14. Relatively fast turn with 2 apexes before you straighten out the wheel, and you're back on the main straightaway heading for the start-finish line, and you've now completed a full lap at the Autobahn Country Club.
Bag started to sprinkle in between the start and the end of this session. Tom Herb comes out on top with GT1. He pulled a 125.7. In GT2, Chris Hutter, 127.3. In GT3, we have Val G at a 130.2. GT4, Charles Margosian at a 131.2. And in GT5, Mike Keck with a 134.2. Now we've got 5 classes of racing. One of them could be locked up today.
Yeah, one of those classes could be locked up today, and I think that is the class of the GT3s, where Val is dominating this season, and so we're going to keep close watch on him. But yeah, you can see Tom Herb up here at the front in the GT1 class. He's in that silver cup car, beautiful car, 992. He will take the GT1 lead today from Tadas, who is not using his racing today, so he will use his second and third drops for this season, and Herb will go ahead and take the lead in GT1.
And also in GT1, we have Tony Baker, Lee. And he's going to be doing his first race with us at
the new
Autobahn.
Guy. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just completed the Autobahn Driver Academy. He's fresh to the racing series, and we're going to be starting our green flag here in just a moment.
We're coming right up to the green flag, aren't we? And we got green. We're green, and we're going. Tom Herb on the inside here, but outside it looks like the lead has been taken. Oh, my goodness gracious. Here we go. Still a little bit wet on the course, and we're totally not sure right now who is running what compounds of tires.
Well, it looks like we've got Chris Hutter in the GT car, followed by Ernie, also in GT2 car.
Yeah, those two are starting to break out. Ernie in P2 right now. He is doing nicely in his class. We're going on board right now, right behind Todd Herb, actually. Who's got the Sentinel in their car at this point? Let's figure that one out, because that'll be good to know. Looks like Tom is still going good here, heading into 7, and now coming up to 8 on South. Somebody looking at the inside of him.
Now, it looks like Chris Hutter and Ernie may have started on wets, because they've pulled out a pretty significant lead over the rest of the field, all the way going through Patience now, coming down to turn 11 and 12. And they may have that strategy, but if the track starts to dry out, yeah, you could see a little bit of rooster tails of moisture still on the track. But if that strategy doesn't work out and the track starts to dry significantly, anybody who started on dries is going to have their play on the second half of the race.
We can see some moves taking place further back in the field with exactly that happening. Look, cars getting twitchy coming out of the end of the straight there in 11. Definitely a slick spot there, usually heading into 11. If you're a little bit on the inside, it could get squirrely there, so you can see that happening. It's the back end of Tony Kesty's car. Kester hasn't been in action for almost 2 years. This is his first race back. Good to see him back in the paddock.
Yeah, GT5 is one of the categories that we're watching pretty closely. Not only is Tony Kester in for the first time this year, but also so is Bob Norian. Norian's got problems with his other car, where he's currently P2 in that class. I believe that's GT2. And so he's in essentially a backup car. And that puts both Kester and Norian on equal ground in terms of where they finish this racing event today.
Yeah, I think Norian's GT2 911 is broke at the moment, and that's his preferred race car. He prefers to be in GT3, but today he's riding around in the MX5, so we'll see what he can bring today in these mixed conditions. Really, probably rather be in that car on a day like today anyways, so we'll see how that plays out for Norian. He's in the middle of the pack right now in the top 10, and guys are still kind of tiptoeing around. We're watching the cars come through turn 6 here, and it even looks like Gavin Gleitzman might have snuck into this field, and he is looking to get some practice before tomorrow's Spec Miata doubleheader. So he is running a regular Spec Miata spec car right now in the GT5 class, and it looks like he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, you can see a lot of the guys are still using the rain line. No dedicated dry line looks like it's formed just yet. But, yeah, as you mentioned, Gleitzman, also Jason Wood took the start of the race. He didn't make qualifying, so whatever issue he had with this car, it looks like they've got it resolved, and maybe he can clamber back some positions and get himself back in the fight. We're still taking a look on the back straight in between Patience and turn 10, 11. Still a lot of moisture on the track. No dedicated dry line just yet. Cars are starting to get single file. Everybody's kind of settling into their pace. But the moment that this track turns dry, and it dries quick, we're going to see a lot of change up in positions. As you see, we're all going too wide into turn 1.
Jason Wood was in his garage earlier with a problem with the battery with his Mustang, but he obviously got that resolved. He currently sits in P3 in the GT3 Championship. However, Val is going to get that locked up today with a couple of wins. He's not really going against Norian. He's not. Wood is a little bit too further back in the championship to be a problem for Val. So with keeping the car on the track and getting a couple of finishes here, Val should lock up GT3 today.
Yeah, and everybody's on our timing and scoring screen. They're turning green lap times, which means they're setting the best sessions so far. So it looks like everything is drying right now. Val has a current time of 1:43, which is a pretty significant off of his 1:30.2 qualifying time. So that just gives you an idea of how wet it still is out there. As we've got... Let's take a look. That's John Ranty at the front of this field.
Right.
And he's holding his own. He's used to his Cayman GT3 car, GT2 car rather.
Looked like Gavin was looking inside.
Yeah. and all of the GT5 field is stuck together. You could see Keck, Norian, and Kester all coming into turn 11 right now.
And they're battling right now.
Norian side by side.
Excellent.
Absolutely. Right now, Keck still has the lead, not only for this race, but also for the championship. Remember, Norian and Kester are starting with 0 points right now, but Keck has been in for a while, and so he's just going to simply extend that lead at this point.
You can still see the pavement coming down. The main stretch is a little bit of mix. Obviously, it's not going to cause too much of a problem coming into turn 1, but heading in toward turn 3, between 2 and 3, you usually see a weeper, and so there's some carefulness, some tiptoeing through that area, and certainly on the backstretch as well as you head in toward 11. But these mixed conditions are excellent. We're going on board with Val, and he definitely looks like he's off of the pace a little bit through 4, but clearly it is drying, and the pace is getting picked up here. So, yeah, very good on boards here. This is excellent to watch Val heading in toward turn 6. Doesn't look like a drying line is forming there just yet, but and we've got some puddles here. So what a outstanding situation we have on the stream following Val around. Now we go outside into that same corner there as we approach Patience.
Yeah, as we still see the GT5 fight, all these guys in qualifying were within a second of each other. So we knew that this fight was going to be close from the start. There goes Thomas Herb into turn 11. He is sitting P4 overall. So he may have started on dries. I'm going to bet that's the case because both Chris, Ernie, Val, they're pulling mid-130s, and Tom is kind of tiptoeing around in the high 140s. So he might be waiting for it to dry. Just be patient. Let the race come to him. But these GT5 guys are just going at it every single corner. And
it looks like they're still twitching. The cars are still twitching all over the place.
Yep, and it does look like Norian's pulled out a pretty significant lead over Kester and Keck. Now Keck falling in behind Kester going into turn 1. Norian's already pulling down the straightaway towards turn 4. It does look like the guys are starting to use more of a dry line now, so conditions are changing pretty rapidly. I've seen little bits of sunshine coming out here and there, and it does look like the dry line is starting to get used now. So speeds are going to increase. Anybody who's on dries is praying that it stays this way right now, but you can see on the horizon it's still dark out there, so anything could change. We are lap 4 out of 22 for this race, and the next one later on today is going to be 20 laps, so it's still anybody's game out there right now.
Big spread in these cars at the lap number 4 point. It looks like the field is really stretching out, and people start to settle in their comfortable laps. But at the moment, we're still trying to find where that is. We don't have that dry line yet, so cars are still twitching around. You can see the front ends of these big GT cars still plowing through some of these corners, and that's always exciting as a driver, and certainly exciting as a viewer.
Yeah, and speaking of mixing conditions, right now, it looks like the top 3 in class are no longer setting their fastest times. So if they're on wets, this is the changeover period right now, where anybody who's on dries is going to start pulling fastest times of the lap, or fastest laps of the race. And, yeah, it's looking like, Tom Herb just chopped 4.5 seconds off of his fastest lap so far. So it's getting a lot drier out there right now. Turn 11 and 12 looks still a little wet. Cars are twitching around. Gleitzman goes for a bit of a joyride out there, hanging the back end out. And he's look at little Spec Miata is hanging in with those bigger GT cars. So that just goes to show he's just giving it all it's got.
I love it. Love to watch that kid drive anyways. The son of a Spec Miata champion, a multi-time Spec Miata champion here at this club, and that is not easy to do. That kid runs in the top 5 in our Spec Miata class on a regular basis. So it's really exciting to watch the 14-year-old Gavin Gleitzman. Really exciting to watch. Looking at the radar right now, it looks like a couple of cells rolling in from I-80 toward the north and west. I don't know if that'll be a factor during this race, but But that has been kind of the day it's been, where a little bit of a drizzle here, a little bit of a drizzle there. It stops. It looks like we have rain falling in some part of our property, our 350 acres here. The different ecosystems going on all over the place. So we're just trying to get our bearings straight with what's happening out on the south course, and it's not drying as quickly as we would have thought, but maybe we're going to get some more showers in here as they battle in toward turn number 8 on the south course. This is a great action with Gleitzman at the end and a couple of other cars, including John Ronti and 2 more GT4 cars. That is well, go ahead.
Well, we've got Scott Benning in that lead BMW. He is the first piece of bread in the sandwich between John Ranty and Sean V right behind him. Sean V had a post-qualifying penalty that had him start from the back of the pack, so he's trying to clamber up positions right now. He's looking to get by Ranty, he's looking to get by Benning and just get back on with his race. But now with this race coming, or with the rain coming back down, anybody who started on wets is just as happy as could be.
Yeah. That GT4 battle is excellent. Sean currently leading with 390 points, Charlie with 380 points in second, and Scott Benning with 370 points in third. So Charlie won that class last year, and right now all 3 of those guys are battling for that championship with 3 races to go after this one. This is a really important race, and so that GT4 battle is the best one that we have on track right now.
Yeah, as you see, Sean V just got 1 position back from passing John Ranty into turn 4. That's one of the more unique passing opportunities here on the track. You've really only got 3 kind of traditional passing zones here. Into turn 1, into turn 8, and into turn 11. And, we've got...
oh, wow. Excellent. Excellent save. Excellent save in turn 6. Going through turn 7, we're on board with Charlie right now, and he is definitely chasing. Oh no, we're back out with that's Val's on board. But wow, the battle going back deeper in the field is incredible. With rain falling on the south course, it's getting slick here again. Look at that. It looks like a rain line. Looks like a little bit of a rain line that Gavin has taken through there, and now they're going to race down the back stretch.
Yeah, and they're actually starting to come up to lap traffic now. You see we're going to get by Gleitzman here. We're going offline from the traditional racing line, showing that it's very wet going into 11. You're going to see a little bit of extra rotation from the car than normal. And, it's definitely slick out there.
Twitch.
So he's definitely started on, and it's just coming down. Yep, there are no green lap times right now. Everybody's slowing down a little bit. Couple cars are, that's Herb in pit lane. So that might be his race. He might be looking to complete half the laps to get points. As the rest of the field goes by on the front straightaway, you could just get an idea of how wet it is out there right now. Cars are Gleitzman's off at turn 1, and let's see if he can save it.
No problem.
He'll get back on.
No problem. The kid's seen the grass before. It's no problem. With Tom Herb pulling off, that's obviously the move for him to make. He will take the win in this race, unless, of course, is it the other GT1 car? Is that Tony Bakerly? Tony Bakerly didn't end up taking the start, so Tom will grab all those points that he needs. He pulls off. He doesn't crash his beautiful 992 Cup car. This is a good call on the part of Tom Herb.
Yeah, and especially if seeing that the conditions are changing for the worse, you really have no other choice.
Right.
With a sprint race, you don't really have much of an opportunity to come into pit lane, change out tires, especially with some of these teams that are fielding 3, 4, 5 cars. You get all those drivers coming in at once, and you're not gonna have enough personnel on pit lane to get it done. So anybody who had the wherewithal to pick wets at the start of this race has absolutely made the right call for sure. So now you're at the point where we've got 14 or so laps to go, and now anybody who's enjoying the wet weather is just hoping that it stays that way.
And now I'm just learning, coming across my ticker tape, I'm learning more about our racing series where you don't actually get your points unless you complete half of the race. So that's actually an issue for Tom Herb. He may just sit there in pit lane certainly if I were Tom Herb, I would just kind of hang out in pit lane and wait and see if this rain, backs off a little bit. At least get a couple of more laps, make sure you can secure those points and secure your championship.
And it looks like we've got somebody that's off and back on.
Uh-huh. That's Ronti.
In between 13
It looks like
14.
Ronti straight into the pit.
Yep. So racing keeps going. That's good. We don't have any full course yellow or anything to slow down the action here. It's been nonstop, really.
It's excellent. Excellent racing here at the GT class. Looks like Ranti's going to pull his Cup car, not his Cup car, but his GT3 race car into the pits. He's going to talk about it, maybe decide whether or not he wants to continue, and we'll see how that plays out. Beautiful drone shots. We appreciate that. The rain not slowing down our technology. So we are definitely appreciative of the shots that we can bring you here. And those are pretty shots indeed. And off we go. That's not going to be Ronti. That was we're going to get that for you in a second. That looked like it was a BMW. Was that possibly Britt Casey? Looks like Casey Sr. Yep. Casey Sr. decided he's out of this situation. He doesn't want to ruin his car unless he's already had an off. But, he's going to go park it after about 11 laps in this one.
So, Mike, you've been around here in the rain. How dramatic is the difference between the rain line and the dry line?
In the types of cars that I drive, it's relatively dramatic. I mean, you have to get wide in most cases. You're a little bit wider than you want to be, and so it's interesting around here. We haven't had a new surface in a few years, and so there are some spots that are particularly slick. But it's great fun to watch these guys navigate those areas. And we kind of have in the back of our head which parts of the track are slicker than others. And so I'm kind of watching closely through turn 2 to 3. It's interesting into 8. It's interesting into 11. So those are all points of this racetrack that when it's wet, it gets exciting. You can see right here that you're seeing how interesting it is with the carousel at 1-2. Very tricky to get through this complex clean when it's in changing conditions like this.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3 is always a little bit of a toss-up because you're crossing over the drive line so many times. Turn 4 here, it's a little bit more obvious. You'll see he'll probably take a little bit of distance away from himself in the apex, drive it a little bit wide, like you say. But for those at home who are watching, we have so many standard road cars that go on this track. It's used almost pretty much every day. And that inside dry line gets so slick the moment that you get water on it that it's almost like an ice rink. And you go just 1/2 of a car width outside of the racing line, and it's very gritty and abrasive, and all of a sudden you've got all that grip back. So now we've also got sunshine back, so you're going to deal with changing conditions now. Each time that you're going around that corner, it's going to be different than the last time that you went through it. And you've got action coming in here.
This is a good battle. Oh, yeah. This is a good battle in GT4. We're going to watch this one closely.
Yep, these guys are now playing the game on. You've got car number 24. That's Val.
That's Val.
Taking the rain line through one and the dry line through the other, and he gets a great run off the exit of that turn.
These two have been going back at each other the entire season, and now we're going on board with this battle. It looks like the middle of the track is the choice as we head in toward turn 11. Look how wide you have to deep here to get this around, and let's see how this plays out as they go through 12 and heading toward 13. A little bit of a jiggle there as you're trying to get out toward the exit curbing. This is a high-speed right-hander, and this is going to be way wide. Look how wide he had to go to get through there safely. Wow, this is just a great battle here. So excellent stuff.
And it's been nonstop, and we're only at the halfway point right now. So that is one of the things that we're still changing conditions. It could rain again. It could dry out again. So maybe that might be what some you see Gleitzman going wide on the traditional wet line, and now it's looking like a bright sunshiny day outside.
Looks like the clouds have rolled through. The rain clouds have rolled through. You can see the starter stand showing the halfway marker. And so we are with 11 laps remaining here in race number 7 in the GT Series here on the South Course. Sun's shining, and it looks like a bluebird day out here, no problem. But just a few minutes ago, rain was coming down sideways. We were watching it out of our booth. You could definitely see it in some of the onboards and certainly the cameras that we have around our South Course. But excellent battles going into Turn 8. This is an interesting one. And look at this position change here. Wow.
So this is all the GT4 battle that we've been watching between Margosian, Benning, and
Val.
Sean. And you look at that's Margosian right there in that lead Porsche with the pack behind him. Now, what's interesting is we've taken a look at the points, and these guys are all, with the drop races included, they're all within 20 points of each other. And that matters at the end of today because you've got 2 races and 10 points that separate first, second, and third. So first will get 100 points, second will get 90, third will get 80. So that standing right now could change in 11 laps time, and it could change in the next 20-lap race as well.
Absolutely true. And while we did mention Val there, we did mean to mention Sean, because Val's actually in GT3. He's got that locked up, but Sean V is the one that you're seeing this battle take place between he and Scott Benning. Charlie a little bit right in the middle of that situation, and this is just such a great race to watch between these three. This points battle was really tight last year as well. Charlie won it in 2023, and so he's looking to repeat here, but obviously Sean has got some different ideas. Scott Benning has been running very well. He's attended every race this year, so he's going to be able to drop his worst points hauls. So he'll be able to drop 3 out of the 10 races. We count 7 in GT. So these races are all on the line here in terms of, like, these points mean everything. So these 3 in particular, these are the ones to watch this afternoon.
And the same goes with GT5, like we mentioned at the start of the race. Those guys are still running all together. Kester's in the lead right now over Keck, who leads Norian. But overall, they're sitting 4th, 5th, and 6th overall. So there's nothing between them. But it does look like we are starting to come up around some lapped cars. And that is going to be Ernie in that first orange Porsche. He had a great qualifying, stayed out beyond the sprinkles that caused everybody else to go in, and he ended up getting P2 in class for the qualifying. And he's using the dry line and getting his race in now.
I was actually watching him during qualifying, and he stayed out for maybe 9 hot laps, and it was the last hot lap that he pulled a low 29. He was in the upper 29s, and Britt Casey was in front of him. So him staying out during that qualifying effort and picking up that lap 9 qualifying time moved him up in the grid and certainly gave his confidence a little bit of a boost. Yeah, he's P1 in GT2 right now, and he's only used 1 drop. His best finish is a race win in race 4. So he's having a nice season for himself.
Absolutely. And you can still see that it's mostly kind of wet out there. I mean, it's a mixed bag of whether drivers are trying to use the dry line or the wet line. At this point, it could be because drivers that are still on wet tires are trying to preserve them. If it gets too hot, those tires are going to fall off, and they're just not going to make it to the end of the race. And we see coming down the back stretch between Patience and 11, and there's not quite as much moisture, no rooster tails that we normally see, so it is changing back to dry once again. Still a little bit wet through 11 and 12. You can see Kester going the wet line through there, still tippy-toeing. Turn 4 on this lap, he had a big old slide, and he saved it quite nicely. Yep, letting Keck go to the inside now, and that's a pass for position. Norian's a little bit further behind them by a couple of turns, so that's GT5 right there with Keck taking the lead back from Kester.
Look at that Porsche pull away from that, whatever it is, Mazda MX-5 Cup built Lord knows what. But there goes Keck around the outside of 2, and he's going to pick up 3, and he's got 7, 8, 9 car lengths between he and Kester at this point, and it's only been 3 turns. So we'll see Keck drive off here for a little bit and see if Tony can keep up. 8 laps to go.
Nobody's setting any flying laps so far, and so that tells us it's still pretty wet out there. We get some shots of sunshine here and there, but you can still see going through turn 1, there's puddles of water on the inside of some of the turns. And we're on board again with, it looks like, Val. Or is this one Sean? I think this one might be Sean.
Looks like this is Charlie. Looks like it's Charlie. And he's heading into turn 4 right now and still staying wide. They're not quite on that dry line yet. The exit of 4 looks like it's okay as we come up here to turn 5. Just a tap of the brakes here before this high-speed left-hander. He's going to stay off of the curbing there. That would be very wise of him as we come in towards 6. Good battle here as they're heading down past turn 7 and toward turn 8. Charlie Margosian. Seven laps to go. Now the leaders have crossed start finish. We're looking at Charlie battling. He is currently going against, is that Benning?
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like Scott Benning is trying to keep up with Charlie and that giant rear wing he has on the back of that Cayman. Charlie has some good power heading down the main straight, or the back straight anyways here. So heading in toward turn 11. Here comes that BMW. Here comes that BMW. Look at that thing on the outside there. Just pick up some car lengths, and now he's going to give Charlie everything he can handle here as he heads through 12 and in toward 13.
And one of the things you might notice is we've got BMWs that are pretty much in almost just about every category in between GT2, GT3, and GT4. And the way that Autobahn has their classes set up is pretty interesting because you have basically 2 drivers can be given the same car, and they build them in a different way, and they could end up in a different class. So you've got power to weight, which is the main classing consideration. Then you have modifiers for aerodynamics and other items that are added to the car that may either give it some power back or give it some weight back, or it might add a penalty. Obviously, with the big old aero that are on cars, you're going to have a power to weight penalty. But if you're running a standard car like a Spec Miata, it doesn't have any extra added aero, you're giving some leniency with that power to weight ratio. So some of these M2s, you might see them, especially like Sean and Val, they're in between GT4 and GT3, and they have a power stick in them. Essentially, it's the way that the engine's programmed. Some of them have a higher output than the others, and that's why you're seeing what looks like pretty much identical cars in different categories. It's all based on the power output and some other modifiers based on the power to weight classing for the cars.
Good battle going on here, and we're going to go back on board this time with Val as we head down the main straight as he's going to be looking to collect Tony Kester.
Yeah, and Val, like we said, he's going to wrap up this this championship probably today. He's sitting 2 laps clear of John Ranty right now, and if he does that once more in the race in about an hour and a half's time, he'll lock up the big slide from Kester.
Wow,
that was a big one and a good save.
Nothing beats a Saturday at the Autobahn.
But yeah, if he repeats what he's doing right now in an hour and a half time with that 20-lap race coming up in just a little bit, he's going to lock up GT3, and he's got enough of his drop races that he's pretty much set.
That's a done deal. That battle in GT4 on the backstretch, going through 7 and in toward 8, is a good one. And we'll take the drone shot there. Keck leading this one. As the BMWs look to the inside, they'll clear Keck pretty quick. Mike staying on that wet line toward the outside. He doesn't want to have anything to do with any of these apexes or any of these exit curbs.
But it does look like it's starting to dry up.
For sure. It does look like it's starting to dry up on the back stretch. We saw some good shots in through 1, 2, and 3. It looks like it's drying up through 1 and 2. Still a little bit wet in 3. Looks like here through 11 and 12, still a little bit wet. Cars are kind of twitching around. And Tony Kester is right up on the back of competitor here as we head in toward 13. That is Sean V. And these two are going to drag race down the main straight. Excellent work. Tony clear.
Yeah, it looks like some parts are still using the wet line, saving those wet tires, trying not to burn them up as much as they can. See if they can last for 5 more laps. That's all they really need them for. And that GT5 battle between Keck and Kester is really going to turn into a good one. I'm starting to think that both of them are on wets based on their performance. Norian's fallen back a little bit. He currently sits. Let's take a look here. Yeah, he's just about a couple turns behind. Gleitzman's getting he's 1 lap behind, but he's kind of in a car that's practice for tomorrow.
Tom Herb up here in the booth. Is everybody on wets? No, it's mixed bag. You were on slicks. Is everybody else on wets? Pretty much, yeah. Everybody else is on wets, it looks like.
And a change of position in GT4, just crossing the beam at start-finish. Scott Benning is now in the lead for GT4 over Charlie. And Charlie must have had a little bit of a mistake because he was in the lead when we were following him before on that onboard with the Sentinel.
And there they are coming through 4. Yeah, Charlie about 15 car lengths back now. He's got some work to do. We'll see if we can figure out what happened there as we come through toward turn 6. And 4 laps remaining. Now it's time to settle in and stop looking in your mirrors and hit your points. Put your best laps down. The fastest lap in this race is going to set the grid for the next race. Tony Kester looking at Keck as we come down the main straight. They're still offline a little bit. Looks like they're just inside the ideal driving line. Heading in toward turn 2, the cars look stable. They're a little bit wide. Turn 3 is still a little bit wet. And they're both very wide at that point, trying to tiptoe through this section. They both understand how quickly you can pitch it off, and down goes your race.
GT2, Chris Hutter is sitting pretty comfortably with about a 5 to 6 second gap. Qualified in P1, and he's holding on to it quite well. And he is currently also the overall leader over Ernie in the other orange Porsche. Both of them actually kind of look pretty similar, but only one of them is mostly orange, and that's Chris, the one with orange and black. Oh,
what a great battle. What a great battle. Kester, it looked like Kester pushed Keck just a touch wide, and he had to grab a little bit of grass coming out of there through 7 in toward 8. Tony has the lead right now, and he's going to keep it collected through 9 and onto the main stretch.
Yeah, great racing by the two of them. Both of them have years of experience around here, so they know each other. They know their strong points and weak points, and each of the cars will behave differently through the straightaways and the corners. So it's a matter of opportunity, and sometimes you have to create that opportunity. And lap traffic coming up is doing a good job of getting out of the way. They're aware that there's quite an intense race going on behind them. Gleitzman's going to be on the receiving end of that here in the next couple of corners.
That's Jason Wood wisely moving over toward the left side of the track. He's like, I don't want to have anything to do with this situation. But you can see that Porsche Power pulling that 968 down the front stretch into 1, and it looks like the lead for Tony's not quite as long as it is, but this is very still touch and go for both of these guys as they head through 3 down into 4. This is the one to watch. Really wide at turn 4 for Tony. It looks a little bit more inside for Keck. Tony still wide at 5. That's Gavin Gleitzman leading these 3 through 6. 3 laps to go here. Yeah,
3 laps to go. The closest race right now is this one in between Kester and Mr. Keck. GT4 is also not doing too bad. We've got Scott Benning still ahead of Charlie Margosian. That gap is around about 5 seconds. So still anybody's race. We've only got 2 laps to go. So at this point, you're going to have to make a move. And it's going to be the race between Kester and Keck that's going to be the most fun to watch. Val has pretty much a commanding lead of GT3. GT2 is also still pretty close. Hutter has about an 8 to 9 second gap over Ernie. But we'll be watching Kester and Keck here. It's going to be a fun one on these last 2 laps to see who's going to put it all on the line. Gleitzman, to their credit, is actually doing quite a good job of keeping him behind him. I thought they were going to catch up to him on that last lap, but he's holding his own. All their last lap times are fairly close to each other. Kester pulled a 1:47.5. Gavin has just done a 1:49.1, so they might catch up to him within these last 2 laps. That'll be interesting. I'm sure he's probably going to do the standard racecraft gentleman thing of getting out of the way and letting them get on with their fight.
Not sure where Keck's going to be able to reel in Kester. I don't know if it's the back straight from 10 to 11 or if it's the front. It seems to me like that MX-5 is heading through some of these sweepers, 4 and 5, certainly 3, a little bit quicker than that Porsche at the moment. But we know that Porsche is powerful. And so he's going to have his mirrors full and his hands full for the next about 4.5 minutes for 2 laps. And actually, it's just 1 lap remaining now. So this will be the penultimate lap for these guys because they will see that white flag as both of the orange cars pass start-finish.
One interesting thing with GT5, Norian's not... Oh, there's goes...
Oh, wow, there's a dive bomb.
And they both make it out of it pretty
They both made it out of that one alive. Oh.
One interesting thing, though, to note on GT5, Bob Norian isn't out of this, even though he is in P3 right now. He's set the fastest lap in this race, which sets the grid for the next race coming up in about an hour's time. So he is clear by Tony Kester for the fast lap by almost 3.5 seconds. So he's got the fastest car in GT5 right now, but that was set right when we had that drying time right in the early start of the race. So GT5 is going to be very interesting to watch.
Tony takes the white flag here. A good half the straight length of distance between he and Keck. That looks like it's secured. Norian looks to the inside. Let's get through there like gentlemen. Oh, my goodness. Here we go again. Through turn 2 and into turn 3. We're all organized. No problem. Last lap.
Yeah, Keck must have made a little bit of a mistake because he's fallen back quite a bit from Kester, and that's given Norian an opportunity to get a run on him, and he's doing that exactly on the exit of 4, going into 5. Like I said, Norian's got the fastest car out there. He may be on dries, and that's the reason why he's catching up with these guys so quickly. So there's Hutter taking the checkered flag, Ranty taking the checkered flag, albeit a lap down. Ernie in P2. And that was car number 24. That was Val taking P3, as we expected. As we're waiting for the conclusion of the cars to come around now, it'll be interesting to see where Kester, Keck, and Norian come around.
These onboards are great.
Oh, yeah.
Look at Tony Kester.
Kester's in the lead. He's got it.
No problem. And Gleitzman is going to be a little bit of a buffer. He gets out of the way. Wise move.
So it's going to be Kester, Norian, and Keck. And you couldn't predict that even 3 laps
Wow, look
ago.
at Norian is all over this situation. Any more laps and this would have been a different situation.
That was a great race between those guys.
Wow. That looks so much fun. Oh, my goodness. The GT Series Top 5. So Tom Herb wins the GT1 class, even though I'm looking at him up here in the broadcast booth. It's a little weird. GT2, Chris Hutter Congratulations to him. Val G picks up the GT3 win and likely the GT3 championship. GT4 Scott Benning. What a race in GT4. And Tony Kester enjoying his first afternoon back on the track in a couple of years with a GT5 win.
Great racing by all of the competitors. That was, I'd say that was exciting from start to finish. We had weather to contend with. You had other drivers to contend with. And that may have all come down to a strategy call from either the driver of the team, whether to be on wets or dries. That'll be an interesting one to see as the cars come in and see who picked what tire.
Yeah. It's really a measure of who knows that wet line, who's comfortable tossing their GT car around the edges of the pavement here at Autobahn, and who's can drive a car like that. Some guys just kind of pull off and say, "Yeah, I'm done with this. This is not a situation I want to be involved in." But those guys gave us a great race to watch and very entertaining here. It's been entertaining to bring this to you here. I'm Mike Anzali. This is Patrick Morgan. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. A pleasure to have you, and we welcome you back for our next race, which is going to be at 2:50 Central.
Welcome to Kart Circuit Autobahn, home of the best arrive and drive karting in the Chicagoland area. This is our brand new fleet of CRG Centurion rental karts that go 50 miles an hour. They're fast, fun, and safe. They are also built for the driver that has the need for speed. Come on out and show us what you got.
At Lexus, our motto is you have to feel it to believe it. Experience the exhilaration of the Lexus Performance line.
Define nature. It's what defines the all-new 2024 Corvette E-Ray. The quickest Corvette ever, with 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. An electrified all-wheel drive that handles all 4 seasons. A supercar of contrasts. It's everything you never expected. One like none.